President Cyril Ramaphosa has defended his decision to appoint Special Investigating Unit Head, Advocate Mothibi, as the new head of the National Prosecuting Authority. Mothibi will take over as the new head from Advocate Shamila Batohi, whose term comes to an end later this month. The advisory panel, led by Justice Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi, concluded that none of the 6 candidates interviewed from a pool of 32 applicants were suitable for the critical role. The president says he's confident in Mothibi's ability to handle the task ahead.
Well, we have appointed, or I have appointed, one of the really outstanding legal minds in our country, who has distinguished himself both in the prosecutorial area as a prosecutor in the past. So he has earned a lot of stripes as a prosecutor. Then he became a magistrate. So on the judiciary, he has practiced on the bench, and in management. He has worked both in the private sector as well as in some of our public institutions like SARS, and he has truly distinguished himself as one of the most outstanding people that I could ever have appointed. And we've seen how he has distinguished himself as the head of the Special Investigating Unit. The SIU is one of those institutions that really has given us a lot of pride, because the successes that they have reached are largely due to the way he has managed the processes of investigating crime and corruption.
Let's get some analysis from senior lecturer in criminal law at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Dr. Suhayfa Bhamjee. A very good afternoon to you, Dr. Bhamjee. Thank you very much for your time. The appointee, according to the president, is an outstanding legal mind who has earned his stripes.
Yeah, you know, we haven't had the opportunity to scrutinize the CV or have the benefit of a public discourse with the appointee, with Mothibi. But the president certainly seems convinced and satisfied. So we'll see what happens. But as far as earning one's stripes goes, I think the role of the NDPP is itself a baptism by fire. And we've seen certain people who have been lauded and hailed as great candidates, great for the role, unravel or come loose at the seams when the chips are down. So we really will only know when we know, but not to take away from what has been explained by the president and other media and links, etc., about Mothibi's successes at the SIU. So hopefully that can translate forward into the NPA as well.
Yes, I think that's where he comes from, but he's done well as the head of the SIU. Of course, the NPA is a different animal. What for you, though, I mean, we're talking about if my mind serves me well, he's going to be the 12th NDPP. Where do you think lies the problem? Certainly with regard to those who haven't done as well as perhaps others. Where are the fault lines?
Okay, so the short answer to that question would have to take us into the arena of capture, corruption, and the bigger fault line, which certainly you know how fault lines work, they're always veins, results in the small pockets and even individuals who do not assist in the process, who have their own agendas, their own systems, lack of oversight, lack of accountability. So the collective of that sort of spells a recipe for disaster. But if, as the head of the organization, you're not able to or not willing to deal with those sorts of issues, it's just going to perpetuate, and that fault line will become a big crater, and it will just perpetuate and perpetuate. So if the head of the organization is not able to, not willing, or not desirous of change, of seeing change, nothing's really going to happen. I think if you think about Shamila Batohi, certainly good intentions, lauded, praised when she was appointed, but so much unraveled for various reasons. And much of those reasons will become more apparent to us as these other commissions unravel and unfold.
You see, this is where I think a lot of people are either confused or disappointed because Shamila Batohi came with some reputation and was lauded, best candidate. And going back to where you started with your last answer, she came or occupied the position after the age of or era of capture and corruption, with a great deal of political, social, and other forms of support. So her chances of failing, as she has done, I think there's consensus around that, comes, and that's why it has come as such a big letdown.
Yeah, but I think if we think about what you said, and even the president said it, that she came in after the era of capture and after the era of corruption. I don't think we're past that point yet. What we are still experiencing, it still exists. Both exists. There's no evidence and nothing to suggest that the corruption is over or the capture is over. So I think what we were possibly expecting is that the corruption and the capture, those elements would have been weeded out. But it's not evident that that is the case. We don't know how deep those roots are, how far they go. And so, yeah, I think that the point is to say that she came in after is a bit of a misleading thing there, because for me, and I'm sure for very many South Africans, we still feel that there still is capture and there still is corruption.
Perhaps, but certainly from her appearances before the committee and, of course, some of the things she has had to say in her own defense, that doesn't seem to be, she wasn't convincing. In other words, no one seemed to reach the conclusion that at the very least, she did the best that she could do.
Yeah, I think that's the right consensus. I think that's certainly the correct summary of it, with these commissions and where she was questioned and the types of answers she was giving or non-answers, didn't do any favors for confidence. And so when people say we should be more forgiving, understand that, she picked up this broken system, it's a little difficult when you see the defensive stance that she was on, and sometimes even the very argumentative stance that she'd taken in that commission of inquiry when she was being examined by Themba Ngcobe. So it hasn't done her any favors as far as the reputation is concerned, or assuaging any fears, concerns, or whatever we may have perceived in our own minds. It didn't do her any favors in that respect.
And it is a bit of an unusual situation or turn of events in that there were interviews and none of the candidates were chosen, and the candidate who was chosen was someone who didn't take part in the interview. Is that an issue at all for you, or and does it have any serious consequences for anybody?
It's lawful and it's constitutionally mandated. Section 179 of the Constitution allows or requires or states that the only person that can appoint the NDPP is the president, and the president gets to choose. Again, this is only the second time that we've had this sort of open process. The first one, you'll recall, was with Shamila Batohi. But again, it's just sort of a favor or nice to have and an effort towards transparency. But the appointment would have been made regardless of whether this open process, the president would still have the prerogative to do so. It could very well have been that even if the panel said, here are your three, that the top three that we think, he could still very well have ignored that and chosen his own candidate from anywhere or any walk of life in that respect, obviously within the two criteria of fit and proper, etc. But there's nothing unlawful about what he's done. But it does raise the question about just from that transparency issues, but that's not unlawful. Do you know what I mean? He's stuck within the parameters of the law, within the parameters of the Constitution. He said as much in his statement. The president said that, I follow the rules. I've played within the rules of the games and what the Constitution allows, and so I've done it. The rest is only time will tell. Only time will tell. Again, there are opportunities for challenge. I don't quite know what it would be, but perhaps as with the case of former NDPPs, it might come down to whether the appointment was done rationally or irrationally. So again, only time will tell.
Dr. Bhamjee, let me thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.